Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Kool-Aid Podcast. For today's episode, we're going to be discussing Barcelona's game against Mallorca. Big win, very important, 3 points for us. And I'm also going to be discussing a little bit of transfer news, but that's on the agenda for today's episode. So let's get right into it. Barcelona played yesterday against Mallorca at home. We won 2-1. It was an improvement. We won the game compared to the last couple of games where we've been dropping points. It's been an improvement. I would give it a solid 7. We put in a shift. It was nothing too spectacular. Clearly, it shows. Personally, for me, I just want the season to end. Achieve the Champions League spot and go into the summer and reinforce his team and just completely focus on next season. But we still have a couple games to play. Everything's not sorted out. We had some very good performances from a couple of players that I'm going to be mentioning later in the video. But for now, let's start with the lineup. Let's see what Xavi did decide to start with. So in goal, Ter Stegen. In defense, Dani Alves, Araujo, Piqué, and Jordi Alba. In midfield, Frenkie de Jong, Busquets, Gavi. And in attack, you had Ferran Torres, Aubameyang, and Memphis Depay. Now going through each one of our players. Ter Stegen, normal game. He did his job. A couple good saves. Nothing too spectacular, and I think this goes for the most of the team. I think it's better to mention the players who really did well rather than single out the entire team. Personally, I would say Jordi Alba was fantastic in this game. He was really one of our biggest attacking threats during the game. He put in a really good shift, and Jordi Alba this season has shown improvement. He's been a vital player. During some games, and in other games he's shown his weaknesses, his deficiencies, and this is why in the summer I think we should try to reinforce that left back position, because having only one left back is not the right move if we want to really compete for the big titles. And going on to midfield, I think Frenkie de Jong was fantastic. His carrying of the ball, his transition, it was amazing. And brought to forefront his amazing quality. Frenkie de Jong is such an amazing player that this team is so much better with him. And he has shown improvement in this game. He's been under criticism. Heavily linked with moves away, for example, to Manchester United, because Manchester United recently appointed Erik ten Hag from Ajax, and we know how well they did in Ajax, and so it's obvious that those links were going to come up. Going to attack, the really player that stood out was Memphis Depay. Memphis Depay put a great performance. He's the one who got the goal. Great link on play. He had a couple of chances, good passes, good hold up play. Very solid performance from Memphis Depay, and he brought us that clinical touch that we needed up front in goal. You saw how in the last couple of games we have like a chance or two, and we need that clinical touch, but we aren't able to get it. But yeah, those 3 players, Jordi Alba, Frenkie de Jong, and Memphis Depay, those are my outstanding players in the game. We're reviewing the game. During the 5th minute, we have an Aubameyang cross. Almost ended up a goal. It was a good save. Later Aubameyang has a couple more chances, but he had a decent performance. In the 22nd minute, we scored a goal actually from Araujo, from across from Jordi Alba, but it was unfortunately disallowed. And that would have been great for Araujo after such an amazing week, where he's able to get that renewal, his new contract, €1 billion release clause, and staying here into the club in 2026. You saw his emotional speech, and it just shows how much of a Barca fan he is, how much he wants to stay here. And my hats off to Araujo. He's a magnificent defender, and we're lucky to have him here. He he could be a rock in our defense for many years to come. And then going on to the 25th minute, 3 minutes after our disallowed goal, Memphis Depay scores. You have Memphis Depay making an inside run. Jordi Alba, good overhead ball. Memphis Depay has an amazing first touch, and then he volleys that into the goal. And that's really what we needed. That lack of clinical touch up front, that's something that we really needed, and we've been lacking. But just as we can see, as we score that goal, we have Gerard Piqué go off injured in the 27th minute, and that's bad news because for these last past couple of games, Gerard Piqué has been forcing himself. And he's been showing his spirit, and that's the one thing that you can't question from Gerard Piqué. Yeah, sometimes he may not put the best of performances, but this season he's been widely close to Araujo as our best defender. You saw how much we miss him in the back. But Gerard Piqué, he likes to fight through the pain, and yesterday he forced himself even though he wasn't 100%. And he had to go off injured. And if I was personally Xavi, I would personally just rest Gerard Piqué for the rest of the season. We have a couple games left. Every game we're seeing him in and out, just forcing himself. He's clearly not fit, and we don't want to aggravate the issue too much. So personally, I would stake Araujo to the bench and just focus on Ronald Araujo and Eric Garcia. Eric Garcia came in for Gerard Piqué. He played a good game. The first half we did show some improvements, but going into the second half, it was a very strong start from Barcelona. Mallorca almost conceded an own goal in the 50th minute via a deflection. Going into the 3 minutes later is when Busquets scores, and this is the thing about Busquets, is that he only scores beauties, bangers. He does an amazing first touch to put himself in a great position to put the ball away from the defenders, and then he does a thunderous strike into the bottom right hand corner. And Barcelona were controlling the game. They were doing some passes. We could have scored our third, and we did score the third, a Ferran Torres goal, but it was unfortunately disallowed. And this was another night for Ferran Torres where just things weren't going for him. This was a night where things didn't go for Barcelona in certain moments. It seemed that things always go against us, but it was a good moment to also see the big return of Ansu Fati. Ansu Fati was away during injury. We saw him injured against Bilbao at the start of the new year. He's such a key player for this team, and missing him is just very very wrong. And it clearly showed how much we needed him. He came on. He came on into a moment of the game where we after he came on, Mallorca scored the goal. They scored it via players, and they threw a cross. It was an unlucky deflection, but it was a moment of the game where Ansu Fati really didn't touch the ball, so he didn't really affect the game too much. But it was a fantastic sign to see Ansu Fati back on the pitch, because he's such a vital player, and having him for the last couple of games is going to give us that extra push, and he's going to add some much needed depth up front, which we desperately need. And then we end the game. We get 3 massive points that secure second place for us. We're only 2 points ahead of Sevilla. Real Madrid they won the title last weekend, but we need to make sure that we secure Champions League spots. We're only 5 points ahead of Atletico Madrid, and only roughly 8 points ahead of Real Betis in 5th place. But we can't be complacent. We need to go for it. We have some very important games against Real Betis, for example, and Celta de Vigo at home. We have some big games, and we need to perform. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that this Barcelona team did look a little bit more fresh with those 7 days of rest, but still you don't see that high intensity press that we saw at earlier. But that's obviously natural because towards the end of the season, the players are very tired. And another thing that I wanted to mention was how Jared Pique's injury. He's added to an ever-growing list of injuries that we have. Nigo, Pedri, Dest. We have Pique now. And in midfield, this gives an opportunity for Ricky Puig. Ricky Puig came out in interviews saying how it's very difficult right now for him to get minutes just because the people who are ahead of him, they're just playing at such a high level. And that he's going to take advantage of the minutes that he gets, and hopefully we do see him in these next couple of games because he's a player that is very exciting. And regarding the transfer news, we saw how Ronald Araujo got renewed. His contract got renewed, and that's very big for us. But recently, there's been links with Carlos Soler from Valencia. There's a speculation regarding Frankie de Jong, how Barcelona's going to sell him and then bring in Carlos Soler. And I personally don't see this happening, just because, number one, even though we would get a profit from Frankie de Jong and from selling him and then bringing in Carlos Soler, one, I even as much as a great player Carlos Soler is, I don't see him having the same quality as Frankie de Jong. I think these are two different type of players, and I think we should stick with Frankie de Jong, even though Carlos Soler is a fantastic player. But I still wouldn't go for him, even though Barcelona has been discussing with the club. And moving into other transfer news, Christensen is so far still on the table, but there has been some back and forth with Cesar Azpilicueta. Cesar Azpilicueta is so far the Chelsea captain, and it's looking like he's going to stay, because with Axel Rudiger heading over to Real Madrid, and especially with Chelsea going under their financial stress with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, it's much needed that they keep their key players. So these were just some of my thoughts on last week's game, and some thoughts, just like some rumors that are popping up in the transfer saga. It was amazing to see Ansu Fati back on the pitch. He is our talisman in this team, and we desperately need him. And I'm very excited to see these next couple of games, and let's finish the season off strong. We definitely need to secure the Champions League spot, and focus on the summer and build this squad, bring in the depth that is needed. So next season we can have a very successful season. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Anything that you want to add, leave a like, subscribe, and then I'll see you guys all next week. Goodbye.